Hello,
Hi.
and welcome to our week at the cinema. That's what we're calling this, I think.
Yeah.
And this week is, what is it? Was the 19th of October. It's still October, isn't it?
Yeah.
19th of October, we went to the cinema, which was yesterday, and we're going to talk about the films we saw, which were...
They were.
That makes it sound like it's a really
They
unmemorable...
They were The Wild Robot,
Yep, the animated film.
Smile Part 2.
Yep, is it part... It's probably just Smile 2, isn't it?
Yeah, but it is the second part.
Yeah.
And Carrie, the original, 1976, I
Yeah,
think.
I think it is. Which I'd never seen before. You had.
Yeah.
Actually, I didn't know anything about it other than you said it's a bit like Matilda, but darker.
Well, it is.
Yeah. Just a bit darker, though. And is there anything we need to say before we begin? I don't know. I feel like we're supposed to do some sort of introduction thing. And this is what we're doing every weekend, is going to the cinema. And these are the films we happened to see this weekend. There wasn't a huge amount out, really, was there?
No.
I mean, there was the Apprentice film, the Donald Trump one, but there was one showing of that,
And it was at like 8:45 p.m. or something, and at that time we wanted to see Carrie, so...
Yeah. I heard the reviews aren't bad for that film, but I think the trailer's a really bad-looking trailer. I don't think they've done it justice for that. Was there anything else out?
Transformers?
Oh, Transformers 1, yeah, which I heard was actually quite good compared to the Michael Bay movies, which isn't great.
I just don't think every single character ever needs a backstory.
I think the animation
I'd hate it. I hate it.
Do you?
Yeah, I really don't like it.
I think it looks kind of interesting.
It's like when they did that weird animation for the Ninja Turtles. I hated that as well.
Oh, I forgot about that. I mean, I was kind of intrigued to see it in a sense of to see whether it'd be good or bad or not, but I don't really have any interest in Transformers, and we had other things to get done earlier in the day, so we only saw 3 today. Mm-hmm. Got back home about 11 p.m, was it?
Yeah.
There was also Terrifier 3, which you really wanted to see.
Yeah.
And I didn't, based on hearing about people fainting and throwing up. It's not my thing as much as yours, that, is it? Like, gore, really?
No.
I'm not, like, bad with it, I don't think. Like my dad, who didn't finish watching Breaking Bad because he was worried about how dark it was getting. I'm not particularly bad with that stuff, but I don't know. I might be based on what was said about that films and the other ones. Mm-hmm. And I did ask you what the story was, and you were like, well, he just kills people.
Yeah.
I was like, okay.
I don't know, because I think Terrifier's done in almost like a comedic kind of way.
Oh, is it?
Yeah. It's not kind of a serious film by any means.
Well, I suppose it wouldn't be.
Like, you know what you're going in expecting with them kind of things.
Yeah, I think, like, if that's the audience for you, that sounds like it'd be, like, really delivers based on what I've heard about the films. I said you could have watched it on your own, but
I don't know. I don't know if it's one of them films I'd want to go see on my own.
Because of it being scary? Is it scary, or is it just really gory?
I think it's just really gory.
Yeah.
But
I think I'd rather scary than gory. Anyway, that's a side note. Yeah, so let's talk about the films in order we saw them then. So the first one we saw was Wild Robot. We saw that about 2 p.m. it must have been, because we had to go shopping and things before.
It was a really full screen, wasn't it?
Yeah, they gave it a tiny screen for that one. With Smile got the massive screen, and there was barely anyone in Smile.
3 people.
Yeah, Wild Robot was absolutely jam-packed. Most of it kids and parents. Mm-hmm. Most of the parents on their phones the whole time.
It makes me quite sad, because it's like in front of us there was a guy and his daughter.
Yeah.
And like he was just on his phone the entire time while she was like trying to like cuddle up to him to watch the film and stuff, and
trying to talk about it.
Yeah, it was quite sad.
Yeah, I mean, I can remember being a kid and watching all of the Pokemon movies, and my dad would just go to sleep to them. And he enjoyed going to them because he's like, oh god, this is finally a chance I can sleep.
Yeah.
So I can kind of relate to that, but there wasn't phones, and it is just really annoying because it's always full brightness on the phones. Mm-hmm. Seems like I'm the only person who ever turns the brightness down.
And someone was on like what's the football thing?
Fantasy football.
Fantasy football. I mean, that's not that height of importance, is it? Like...
It's looking at it a lot as well.
Yeah.
Like you can have a quick check of that, I suppose. But yeah, it made me saying I kind of want to get a laser pointer just to point at people's phones when they're on them. It would be fun. I'd enjoy like trying to stealthily do that so they can't tell where it's coming from. But apart from that, I really enjoyed The Wild Robot.
I really liked it as well, yeah.
I thought it was surprisingly funny. Like, quite dark, actually, a lot of the jokes.
Yeah.
Like, the film is very matter-of-fact about death. Like, in a way that makes sense, because, the wild animals and death is a big thing in the wild.
Well, there's quite a funny scene, though, where a possum mum meets the robot.
Oh, yeah.
And the possum mum has kind of taught the little babies to kind of pretend to be dead when they see danger. So all the little ones have come up with actual like things that they're dying from, and,
Yeah.
and
One's pretending to die from spontaneous combustion.
Yeah.
One's meningitis.
And then some of them were arguing about who gets to die from sepsis.
Yeah.
I really like them bits.
Yeah, I did. Yeah, it was surprisingly like matter of fact about death in a way that suited. Like they would just talk about dying and death a lot, and things did die quite a lot actually, really, didn't it?
Mm-hmm.
In a quite slapstick way, crabs getting boiled or flung in a distance, or birds taking them off and things.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's just a really sweet idea for a film. A robot that's designed to help with tasks for some reason washes up on a wild island and is trying to complete tasks for animals that think it's some weird monstrous danger thing.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just very sweet, and it gets this, what is it, a gosling,
Yeah, goose.
and kind of accidentally becomes its mother, and then it's kind of their relationship and a robot trying to understand more than it was programmed for.
Mm-hmm.
And it like rewrites its own code and things to try and adapt to the environment, which I really like as an idea.
All with the help of a fox that initially just wants to eat the baby, but
Yeah.
over time
I really liked
learns
the fox.
to kind of...
I mean, I kind of, part of me felt like it was slightly forced with the fox, how it's like, because it does just want to eat it, and you feel like it's sort of hanging around because that's what needs to happen
Yeah,
in the
but I
story.
think it does kind of progress to a point where you don't feel like that's the only reason the fox is around.
No, it just kind of
'Cause
becomes
there's-
the dads, doesn't it?
Because, like, the robot kind of switches off on a night, as if, like, going to sleep, and then won't reboot until morning.
Yeah.
And there's, like, a scene where the fox doesn't want to be alone, so while the robot powered down, he, like, snuggles up next to the robot. I found that very sweet.
It is a very sweet film. You cried a lot.
I did, yeah.
I didn't cry once, which I'm surprised at, and I don't quite know why that is. I think some of it's because it is quite quaint, I suppose. I really like the scene of there's a winter storm, and it results basically in all of the animals, despite being predators or prey, having to sort of like coexist in a slightly Noah's Ark type fashion for a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Which is very sweet, but also quite... I don't know, I shouldn't criticise it for that, actually, because that's also kind of the point, I think, is that, like the idea of a robot becoming more than it was programmed for, and, like, animals being more than they're in nature,
Mm-hmm.
designed for, not designed for, but, you know. I like that about the film a lot, how so much of what's supposedly natural instinct, like the environmental pressures force them to adapt who they are and become different, and... that is what nature is, really, I suppose, isn't it? Always adapting to the environment and not always pushing yourself to become something more than you thought you were. I think that's a really cool idea for film, and I think they do that really well.
And I think it also touches upon, like, how all these animals do have their place within, like, a community. So, like, one may be seen as, like, useless.
Yeah.
But they are there and needed for a very specific reason, and how without each other... there isn't really a...
Yeah, they do that quite well with the beaver, actually, as well,
that's
don't they?
kind of what I was thinking about.
Yeah. I'm slightly confused how they all survive when they start getting along, in terms of, like, if they've agreed not to eat each other.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know why they
I
don't...
guess they're all just eating the crabs.
The crabs don't get a place. They're not accepted as the rest of them. And like, what I didn't expect with the movie was because you see the trailer and it's all about raising this gosling, but then there's another bit to the story as well where it's to do with where the robot came from and the kind of dangers and this corporation discovery that there's this robot that has rewritten its own code and become something much more. That's something to study.
Mm-hmm.
This kind of scientific phenomenon there. And the dangers of that. And I really liked that. That's kind of like a villainish thing near the end of the movie, but they do that quite well, how it just suddenly pops up.
Yeah, and during them kind of bits, it touches upon like wildfires and how much they can affect wildlife.
There is so much they did pack into this film and that I was surprised about. You got all of the raising the cub. You've got wildfires. You've got a snowstorm whole event.
Mm-hmm.
You've got migration itself. And coming back, and then this whole big ending. There is a hell of a lot packed into this movie for, I think, 1 hour and 40 minutes-ish. 1 hour 42, maybe. I was quite impressed by that, I think. And it does just, like, flow seamlessly as well. Like, the film just kind of... You don't feel like there's an introduction to the film, it just starts.
Yeah.
It's just the robots on the beach, and you go from there.
Yeah, I think it starts by the robot washing up and some otters finding the robot and...
Yeah, but like some films you feel like there's a clear introduction and then you've got like an act one and everything just like sort of flows in a way that feels really good for a kids movie.
Also, it does have some really good voice acting.
Yeah, it does. I didn't realise that Mark Hamill was the bear.
No.
Because it doesn't sound like the ordinary... I mean, Mark Hamill does a lot of dark, gruff voices, but I didn't really pick it out as like his Jokerish voice his Ozai voice.
I also couldn't tell Pedro Pascal was Pedro Pascal.
No, he does a very good job in that part as well. And the robot as well. It's hard to do...
Lupita. I can't remember how you say her last name.
But it's very hard to do a robot and also add a lot of emotion to it at the same time. They did that really well. I suppose my biggest question with this film, though, is, like... Because I think people talk about, when you get a movie like this kind of thing, people mention the Iron Giant.
Yeah.
And they mention WALL-E.
And I guess even, like, you could say Big Hero 6.
Do you think it's as good as them?
I think, yes.
Like, the Iron Giant is iconic, really. Yeah. I mean, there's a novel before that by Ted Hughes, but...
Well, apparently, wasn't The Wild Robot a novel as well?
Yeah,
I think it said at the start it was a...
Yeah, it did, actually. I'd be interested in looking at that. Do you think it's as good as Iron Giant then? Do you think it's going to be as iconic as that?
I haven't seen Iron Giant since I was quite little, but I don't think this film probably will be as iconic as the Iron Giant. No,
I mean, that's what I was kind of wondering. Do you think this will be a film people will remember in 20 years' time as like a really cult classic type film?
I don't think it will be. I think it probably should be. I think it's very good.
Yeah.
But I don't know. But that could just be because of like cinema these days and like.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think it will be either, and it's hard to say why that is because I think it is very good, and I don't think there's much I'd fault about this film.
Didn't you say as well it's the last one that DreamWorks are actually
in-house animating? Yeah. As far as I heard, which is a shame.
It is very beautifully animated.
I know. I really love that kind of art style. Which is funny because you're saying you didn't like the Transformers art style. Well, they're kind of similar.
It's not. I don't like the faces of the Transformers and stuff. I think they're really like. Ugh.
No, I don't. To be fair,
I just don't like. The thing is, It's not the animation style that I don't like. It's how they've animated it. I don't think it looks good. I don't know. Just like the character kind of creation and stuff doesn't look good.
Yeah, I suppose it's hard with Transformers, though, isn't it? It's probably easier to do animals in that way.
There were also scenes where stuff was shown through almost like childish kind of drawings.
Oh yeah, there were. I forgot about that.
And them bits were really, really sweet.
Yeah, I mean, it is a really sweet film, and I think if you have a kid, they would love this. Mm-hmm. Much as I said about dark humour in it, I don't think it is a dark film exactly. It touches upon themes in a way that I think is important for kids. I think too often people can be scared of mentioning death at all to children. Mm-hmm. But it does it in a really kind of light, safe way.
Yeah.
And I like some of the exploration about this corporation and what that's like. And is this set in a utopian future or is it horrible? Hard to say. Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's a lot. It's really sweet for kids. Really fun. Made me laugh a lot.
There was a very cute child behind us during this screening who, anytime the robot came on the screen, would go, "Oh, robot!" It was very cute.
All right. Let's get to ranking it then. Mm-hmm. I suppose before that, are there any other similar animated kids films already on our list that we could compare it to?
Not really.
I suppose you can kind of compare it to If in that that's the same-ish genre. And I think this is a hell of a lot better than If.
Yeah.
I think If was totally forgettable. Mm-hmm. Imaginary Friend, I suppose it's technically called. Is that our only one? There's Coraline, I guess.
Inside
Coraline's,
Out 2?
Yeah, Inside Out 2. They're very different films. I mean, Coraline is dark, like deliberately. Dark is Hot Coraline. This isn't dark. Mm-hmm. This just has some dark jokes, I think.
Yeah, the whole film is quite like light and like enjoyable.
And it's... Yeah, and sweet is the right word. Where I think Inside Out 2 is very moving, but I wouldn't say it's... I mean, it has sweet moments, obviously, but I wouldn't say it's like as sweet as this kind of film. Where the idea of this film just is very charming, I think.
Mm-hmm. Well, we're on the subject of like Inside Out and Coraline. We should touch upon rankings because I put The Wild Robot in between Inside Out and Coraline.
Oh, did you?
Yeah.
Because that was going to be my question. How do you compare it to them? Right, in the middle.
So I was going to put
so where you've
Wild Robot at 11.
All right, so you've got Inside Out at 11, Inside Out 2 at 11 at the moment, and Coraline at 10. So
so I'm putting Wild Robot in the middle.
This would be your new 11, I suppose, then. I didn't rate it as high as that. I think it's because...
I personally preferred it to... Like, because initially I had it at 13... But then I was like, I preferred The Wild Robot to Inside Out 2. And that's kind of how I've judged it, because as a movie, I preferred it to Inside Out 2.
Okay, I mean, that makes sense. And in a way, I prefer it. But I also feel like, because I saw as well recently, this film is already out on digital streaming, which I don't understand, because it's still in the cinema. Mm-hmm. I saw it this morning. It made me think, okay, maybe I could make a video on this week, because if the film's out there, I can find it and upload clips of it and things.
Yeah.
But then I thought, I don't entirely know what I'd say for a video. Whereas Coraline, I made, 3 or 4 analysis videos on.
Yeah, but this isn't based on if you can make a video on something or not. It's based
but it
on
means
if you enjoy the film or not.
Yeah, but it means it's not as deep. It doesn't leave me with as much to think about.
I think it does so. If we're like, because obviously Inside Out 2 has more about like anxiety and things like that. But I think The Wild Robot is equally important because it touches upon like the rights of animals and things like that.
Yeah, it's important, and I think it delivers meaning. I don't know if there's much to really like reflect on though. Like with Inside Out, there's a lot you could think about and try and find more in it.
I guess, but I for my reasonings personally, I don't really go into a film thinking about like how deep it is.
It's just me, isn't it?
Yeah. So like, sure, I like Inside Out 2 makes me cry as well.
Yeah, well, I still ranked it highly.
But I found The Wild Robot just really, really moving. And even thinking about it makes me tear up a little.
Yeah, maybe if I'd cried more, I would have done. I don't know why I didn't really. Because I cried at Paddington. I guess it's partly because I kind of feel like the whole idea of this film, which is a very sweet, moving idea, you feel like it's all... Because that's kind of the idea behind it. It's not forced, isn't the word, because it isn't forced, the sort of movingness of it. But you can kind of feel like that's where it's going from the beginning. So I think it doesn't catch me by surprise.
You also don't expect all the robot stuff and like the fires and
I did enjoy all of that.
Yeah, and I like you said, the trailer does make you think it is just going to be about this like Gosling learning to fly and things and moving on, whereas like then you are surprised because it is more than that.
Yeah.
So because I wasn't expecting it to be as moving, and I wasn't expecting there to be as many like other animal characters, and like I think you actually care for all the characters in it as well.
Yeah, you do. Yeah, it's nice how they become a kind of community by the end.
Mm-hmm.
But I put The Wild Robot... I still ranked it highly. I put it in 19.
Mm-hmm.
So just ahead of Return of the Jedi, just behind Wonka. Which seems funny when I think about it, because in a lot of ways, I think The Wild Robot's a better movie than Wonka.
Mm-hmm.
I think Wonka has more flaws.
Yeah.
But I find Wonka more fun. I think that's probably what it is. And this one was very fun. But yeah, that's where I put that. What else did we see today?
We saw Smile 2.
Yes, and we watched Smile 1, or Smile, on Netflix the night before, which you've seen before.
Yeah, yeah.
And so you were keen to see these. I hadn't. I didn't really know anything about it other than what you can obviously see from the trailer, people smiling and killing themselves. It sounds weird when you put it like that. It's quite a creepy idea, I think.
It is, yeah.
Though. It's a good idea. I find it weird. Like, they must, when they cast people for that film, just be like, how wide can you smile? Yes, you'll do. You can pull a wide... Because I couldn't pull a smile like that.
Yeah, it's in like the new one, like, you need someone who's got, like, a kind of almost iconic smile. Yeah. Oh, like, Jack Nicholson's kind of gotten a bit too old. Let's just get his son, who looks kind of the same as him. Yeah,
I mean, Jack Nicholson's smile was made for that kind of thing. Mm-hmm. But my smile barely reveals my teeth at all.
And I've just got quite little teeth, so...
Yeah, your teeth are tiny. Yeah, I'm torn on this one, because I think it is a really creepy idea for movies. It is this kind of some sort of odd curse that's causing people to see lots of other people smiling in this weird way at them, these stares. No one else can seem to see it. Kind of getting the person driving more and more mad until drastic extremes, really, is the idea.
Yeah.
And it is a cool idea, and there's kind of trauma, something or rather to do with it in there. I suppose trauma spreading. I guess that's a theme. I guess you can say that.
Yeah, I mean, I guess like the general premise is this thing is getting passed on because someone will, I guess, kill themselves in front of another person, and then that person takes it on. So I guess that's probably like the kind of thing they were going for. Like, this is someone passing trauma onto someone else.
Yeah. Like it's a baton
to the point
in a
where they
race.
kill themselves, and then the cycle continues unless you choose to kill someone else and someone else witnesses it.
I think actually that's probably the bit about these films that does slightly annoy me. I think it's because I'm a therapist and I see this and I'm like, well, why can't we break the trauma cycle? And I keep wanting that to happen. And, well, I suppose that spoils the first film now, doesn't it? Because it doesn't happen in the first film, really. It kind of does, I guess. But also, it's not like anything's really resolved or that. And that frustrates me because I wish it was, even if that would kind of defeat the point of the horror.
Yeah.
Because it is creepy. And it didn't scare me, but it's an interesting idea to think on.
Yeah, I think this is one of them films, because it is not a scary horror movie by any means.
No.
There are kind of like a few jumpy moments, I suppose.
It got me with a few jump scares,
Yeah, but like these...
I get easily with jump scares, don't I?
These aren't the kind of movies that I find scary, because I like they're so out of the realm of actually happening.
Yeah.
That like it's just kind of fun.
I find it quite hard to be scared by supernatural.
I don't think you go into these movies thinking, oh, this is going to be the best horror movie I've ever seen, because you know what it's going to be.
Yeah, well, that was my problem with Smile too, I think. Because we watched the first one, and I didn't know where it was going or what this was about or anything, and I was intrigued by that. And then you get to the second one, and you know exactly what the setup is, and exactly what's going to happen. And it's not like, for example, when you watch Speak No Evil, where it makes it pretty clear what's going to happen, and you're really on the edge of your seat waiting for it to happen.
Speak No Evil is so good. I would say it is one of the best horror movies I've ever seen.
It was really good, yeah.
I mean, yeah, it's probably my top 5 horror movies.
Yeah?
Yeah.
But it would be mine, because I've probably only seen about 5. But Smile 2, you knew where it was going, and I was getting quite impatient at points. Watching this person thinking they're mad, not knowing what's happening... But we as an audience know, because we've seen the first film, and it's like, come on, can we get to the extreme stuff now?
Yeah.
I think that's what frustrated me about this film, because it kind of resets and does the first one again.
I do agree there, yeah. I think you do know where this is leading.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like, well, this story's, it's fun and whatnot. You do ultimately know kind of what's going to happen.
Having said that, it's not like, for example, we talked about Strangers Chapter 1 was literally the same as the Strangers movie.
Yeah, no, not to that level of...
I think Smile 2 is a better movie than the first one. I think the character's more interesting. I think there's other stuff going on in her life where the first one, there isn't as much.
But it does have less Kyle Gallner in it, so...
Well, I didn't know who the hell he was.
Yeah.
I thought he looked a bit like Shia LaBeouf.
He does suck maybe a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, because it's quite an interesting character. It's this pop star, and you get bits of what that life is like, which I found interesting. And there's some creepy scenes with a fan that's slightly obsessive. And I thought I was really hoping they would go down a route where, how do you say this without spoiling it? A route where, in reality, there is a fan obsessing over her, and that kind of blurs the line between is she going mad because of this cursed things, or is there actually this person that's causing stuff to happen?
There's a lot of trauma in her already because her boyfriend has died in a car crash.
Yeah.
So I think if they went down that route, it could have been a very much like is she just traumatised from this thing that's happened?
Yeah. I think
now other things are getting added on top of it.
I would have liked that if
Me
it
too.
wasn't just the supernatural stuff, if they also leaned into exploring more of the real stuff as well, and that makes it hard to tell the difference between the two. But they didn't. They mostly just focused on the supernatural.
Yeah.
And I think also there's points where a load of stuff happens in this film, and then you then discover it didn't actually happen. It wasn't real, which is kind of frustrating because there's like big plot points happening, and then you're like, oh, that didn't actually happen.
There was one kind of near the end where I was like, oh my god.
That was quite a good twist.
But it just didn't happen. So
yeah. Which was frustrating. So yeah, in a lot of ways, I think it's better than the first film. I think you can feel there's a bigger budget to a lot of the stuff. Like I think it's shot better. I think in terms of the music they've made up for this pop star, it's better than the made up music in the film Trap. Probably a similar amount of it. There was bits where you felt like the music video moments were going on a little too long. Like they were just showing off the music.
Yeah.
Oh, and they were showing off Voss water a lot in this film.
Oh, yeah, it was to the point where like we turned to each other and we were like, this is just a big advert.
There must have been about 30 or 40 shots of the main character drinking Voss water.
She drank very quick, though.
Yeah, she did. She got down, what is it, about? Like, it must be about a litre bottle or something in about 5 seconds. I couldn't do. I'd throw up if I tried
It's
that.
like me drinking a pint.
Yeah, so I don't know. I think if I hadn't seen the first movie, I would have enjoyed this one a lot more, not knowing where it was going and things.
Yeah.
But that does create some problems for it. It's still very creepy. I was mostly intrigued. I don't think it's... I wish it had been a bit more ambitious as a sequel, and I wish it had tried different things.
Yeah, I agree.
But I can't really fault it.
I liked it. Oh, you missed it, but there's a scene where an old lady goes to a table. I enjoyed that.
Oh, was that when I was in the toilet?
Yeah.
That would have been good.
It's like a WWE moment.
Where would you rank Smile 2 then on our list?
I put Smile 2 at number 40
So
because I think it is better than Salem's Lot.
Yeah, I do.
But I don't think it's better than The Watched.
Yeah, I think it had less flaws than Salem's Lot, definitely. I think The Watch was a more interesting premise. I think
it was really good.
because I was a lot more intrigued by that. I put it at 42, so that's pretty similar to you. It's ahead of Joker Folie à Deux, which is funny, because there's a lot of things I find more interesting about Joker, but it's also more flawed, that film. Yeah, I put it better than Salem's Lot. I think it's better than Imaginary. Also behind The Watch online.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's where I'd place it. I was slightly disappointed. Were you disappointed by the film? Did you thought it was going to be like more than that? Because you were excited to see it,
I was
weren't you?
excited to see it, but I wasn't going in thinking it was going to be great. Because with these kind of horror films, like, I think you know what to expect.
Yeah.
Like, you know it's not going to be the best film you've ever seen, but you know you're kind of going to have fun and enjoy it.
Yeah.
And I enjoyed it for what it was, so I won't say I was disappointed, but I think what comes into that as well is the fact that we do have the unlimited cards, so we like pay like a monthly kind of fee.
Yeah.
And then we can see as many films as we want. So if I would have actually paid like the £15 to actually see it, then maybe I would have been annoyed.
Yeah.
Not annoyed, but like a bit disappointed. But yeah, I think it was fine.
Yeah, I think it's fine. All right, and I guess that brings us to our last film of the day. Another, would you call Carrie a horror movie? I suppose you would.
Yeah.
Carrie, the Stephen King book turns novel. You've read the book, haven't you?
Yeah.
I imagine you read it when you were a kid.
I was probably about 13 maybe when I read it.
Okay.
So I can't pinpoint like exacts about the book. And
yeah, as I said, I didn't know really anything about this one, and it took me by surprise when it started. And I was really uncomfortable actually to begin with, because it opens with nudity in this girl's changing room at school, and I was like, well, how old are these supposed to be? And I don't know how old they're supposed to be still. I suppose
I
high
guess
school.
senior in high school in America, you probably would be around like 17, 18, right?
Yeah, which I find uncomfortable because there's full-on nudity.
Yeah.
I don't think it's necessary. I mean, I get the point they're making is this like innocence and
like I guess like a vulnerability as well. Like
yeah, and how it opens washing and then blood coming from a period, which I suppose is kind of how the film ends as well. Connections there, and I found it very odd. I think that's what I said. I said to you, didn't I? I turned to you about half an hour into the movie, and I said, "Why is everyone acting so weird?" Because the teachers I found were really odd for maybe that's just the 70s, but the teachers were behaving in really odd ways.
Yeah, like the teachers just like they're hitting students and
yeah, and she was like taking them to a mirror and talking like they're best mates. And then there's the other scene where she's like having a right go at them for wanting to go to the prom and like asking them who their dates are and sort of being sarcastic to them about it. She's been a right dickhead really for what is also supposed to meant to be, I think, a relatable, nice teacher.
Yeah. But I guess for like something that came out in like the 70s, like that's kind of probably how it may have been.
Yeah.
Then.
Probably. In a way, I blame that teacher though. I feel like there's a lot of these kids that are bullying Carrie, and her response for them bullying Carrie is to put them through a lot of torment and detention. And I just think that would make them hate Carrie even more.
Yeah.
Which I don't think was an intelligent way of handling it exactly. Obviously, they need detention, but yeah. So maybe it's just my problems of the 70s, but I found that interesting about the film though at the same time. I liked that. And I did find it odd as well, actually, the scenes between John Travolta's character and his girlfriend. I found their dialogue was really odd.
Yeah.
And she kept calling him a dumb shit and like going back and forth between arguing and making out. Was like interesting. I like it. It feels really different, the dialogue in this.
Yeah, and then you've got the mum of Carrie, who's very religious and abusive along with that.
Yeah, which I also find really, because like tonally you go from kind of like comedic scenes to that and back again, and it's just not like in a bad way. It just makes it feel really odd. Like I had to adjust to this film, I think.
Yeah.
And then I started to realise where it was going, and it is very dark. And I was really uncomfortable for a long, long time in this film.
Well, I think because you know what's going to happen, and you feel like you want to stop it.
Yeah.
But like you can't, obviously. So.
Yeah. I mean, I feel very sorry for Carrie.
I feel sorry for Tommy as well, to be fair.
Yeah. I mean, initially I didn't feel sorry for him initially because I thought he was a trickster, I suppose. Well, the premise of the film, having not explained that at all, Carrie is a girl at school who is bullied. She's got an abusive mother who is highly over the top into religion. I think convincing Carrie that she is a sinner, really. But Carrie also has telekinesis, Which is it kind of just appears in the movie in a way,
Yeah.
really. I thought it was going to be like a lot of her slowly discovering it and finding fun things she could do and things, but it kind of just appears. And then it's all a big build up to this prom scene, and you know there's a big trick going to be played on her, and you're worried about what's going to do and how Carrie's going to react to it.
Mm-hmm.
And it's all very dark, and you feel like that's. I imagine Stephen King came up with the ending for this first, and then wrote towards it.
Figured out how to.
Yeah, because it feels like everything is building to that one moment, and it delivers that very well.
So once again, just kind of like another Stephen King that's like a small town.
Yeah, but this one's not set in the 80s because it was made before the 80s. I feel like, I suppose if I was to criticise this film, I'd say like it's got its one thing it does, and it does that very well. But you don't learn too much else about the people. I don't think like it kind of all you see of the characters is geared towards that ending.
Yeah. I don't think it's missing like knowing who the characters are though,
No,
really.
I don't. I think there's also a lot of slow motion shots which are very uncomfortable. I reckon if I was to watch it again though, I'd be like, could we speed up the slow motion and get to it?
But there's like also like a really sped up shot when
yeah, that was random.
The boys are like shopping for suits for the prom, and there's like I guess like a friend that doesn't shut up, so they kind of fast forward him talking.
They're having a little bit of an argument and they fast forward it. I think that's what I found odd about the film was some of the director's choices just felt slightly odd, and some of the shots I was like,
I think that does add to it because it is kind of an odd kind of feeling film. So
that made it intriguing to me and kind of fun. I also liked at the end when there's a load of traumatic stuff happened, and then the mum is saying on the phone to a friend or something, well, the doctor says she's young enough that she'll forget it in a few years, so it'll be fine. So I'm sure that's not how trauma works.
Yeah, great doctor.
Like even in the 70s, I'm sure they knew more than that.
I don't.
Yeah, it's a fun film, I think. It's uncomfortable, it's dark, there's some interesting themes explored. Where would you rank it?
I am putting it at 25.
Are you? So that's what you got there.
Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes.
Yeah.
So I'd have it just behind The Empire Strikes Back.
Just behind The Empire Strikes Back, just before Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes. What I do like about this film, I mean, Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes was very not long, but there's like a lot of different stuff packed into it. Well, it was quite long, I suppose.
It was, yeah.
Whereas Carrie's a very streamlined film, which is quite nice.
Even the credits are over in like 2 seconds.
Yeah, I found that. I don't know if like the cinema messed up or something there, but it's like 30 seconds of credits and then just silence.
Maybe that's just like 70s films that kind of.
And you just hear people awkwardly shuffling about as they're on the way out of the cinema, or there's no music or anything. Yeah, it's very streamlined, isn't it? Which is quite nice about it. As much as us criticising it for saying it doesn't have more stuff in it, that's also what's kind of good about it. I put it at 34.
Okay.
So just ahead of... No, is that just behind Trap?
Ahead.
Just ahead of Trap. Yeah. Although thinking about Trap, maybe I do prefer Trap. Maybe I'd put it 35 then. I think it's...
It's better than the first Omen.
Why did I put Trap behind Twisters? That's surprising. I'm surprised at that. Trap was more... Trap had problems, but it was more fun. So it'd be about there, I think.
Yes. I'll figure out in like when I'm editing this as to where definitively you put it.
Okay. I mean, I think as kind of horror or horror-ish movies go, it was a lot more interesting than the first Omen. I think it was a lot more disappointing than the end of Longlegs.
And if we're talking about like, I guess Stephen King like adaptations that are on this list, it is a lot better than Salem's Lot.
Yes, it definitely is. So our highest ranked one today. I mean, last time we did this, we had some films popping up in the top 10.
We both had a new number 2 last time.
Yeah, we did. As this time, none of them have made the top 10, have they?
No.
Your Wild Robot was what?
Number 11.
Which is close.
Yeah.
So almost. All right, well, let's put them all into the list properly then and see what it looks like.
Okay.
Right, so we've put them in properly now. Obviously, the numbers we said they were changed because you're putting other ones in before it, which bumps everything up.
Yeah.
So there's now 58 films we've seen this year at the cinema. It feels quite a lot, doesn't it?
Yeah. And some of these we have seen more than once in the cinema as well, so.
Yeah, that's true. So Smile ends up at 42 for you now, outside of the 40s. Carrie ends up at 26, and The Wild Robot ends up at 11 still. Yeah, so just outside of the top 10 there.
And then with yours, we have Smile number 2 at 44. Got Carrie at 36 and The Wild Robot number 19.
Yeah. So Carrie's 10 places lower on my list than it is on yours, which feels quite a big change. I think I'm quite happy with those rankings though.
Yeah, me too.
That makes it, when you look at it and we put them in there, it makes it look like it was a disappointing weekend at the cinema, but I don't think it was. Did you find it a disappointing weekend?
No, not at all. I had a really good time.
Yeah, I did as well.
And I didn't have to shush anyone once.
That's true.
I am having to shush someone right now, though, because you could probably hear one of the rabbits being an arsehole in the background.
I bet it's Hendrix.
I love a nosy. It is, yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
At least she's waited till the end of the video for that. Yeah, those are our thoughts. Let us know if you've seen these films, what you think, if you think our rankings are completely wrong.
I guess now would be the perfect time for my question of the video.
Do you have one, though?
Yeah. So halfway through, we touched upon favourite horror movies. So my question is, what's your favourite horror movie?
Mine probably would be Speak No Evil on the basis of the very few I've seen.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I don't know what other contenders I would put close to that. What are the other really good?
Strangers?
Yeah, I prefer Speak No Evil. I think
Yeah, me too.
The Strangers doesn't have humour, which Speak No Evil does.
Mm-hmm.
What is is that the highest ranking horror film on our lists here?
Yeah.
I think any of them. None of the others come close
Unless
to
you
it, do
count
they?
Shaun of the Dead,
Yeah.
then... But I don't think you do.
I can't see any horror movies that come close to it on the list. My next highest is Never Let Go at 29.
Mm-hmm. So I've got... What have I got? I've got Speak No Evil at 6. Blink Twice, I've got number 1.
Oh, I suppose it is a horror
Yeah,
movie, isn't
yeah.
it? Yeah, that would be that would be the next contender.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So there's your question.
I didn't get to answer.
Oh, okay.
My favourite horror movies of all time are on this list, because of all
Go on,
time...
of all time.
Of all time, I'm going to say the Rob Zombie movies, House of a Thousand Corpses and The Devil's Rejects. It is a trilogy, but the third one isn't as good, I don't think. But I also like the original Halloween, Friday the 13th.
Can we count Coraline as a horror movie? Because then that's another one that's high on the list.
Technically, yeah, I suppose so.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I'm waiting for them to do a live action of Coraline. I don't want it to happen, but you know it is at some point.
That'd be so much CGI needed, though,
Yeah,
wouldn't it?
yeah.
It's almost not
But
worth
it is one of them films that
They
you
probably
can
would.
see. Yeah, yeah.
Well, I don't know, though, now, because it seems like Neil Gaiman's... I mean, you're still supposed to say allegedly, but... so maybe not. Maybe that's it for
I guess
Neil
so,
Gaiman-related
yeah.
movies.
Yeah.
On that cheery note...
No, they've got a second question.
Oh, okay.
Out of every film, not just films on this list, if you heard that there was going to be a remake of a certain film, what film would you be most upset about getting remade?
Yeah, it's hard to say that, because sometimes you're... Actually, no, remade, you're rarely excited about, I don't think.
No.
Unless there's, like, a real clear reason to do something different. Or it was one that was originally bad and could have been done a lot better.
Yes, yeah.
I wouldn't like to see Shaun of the Dead remade.
I don't think it ever will be, though. It's one of them films that I don't think ever would get remade. I think mine would be The Goonies.
That's going to be done one
Or
day.
Stand By Me.
That's also going to be done one day.
The Shining will be done one day.
Yeah. I think the ones I'd be most upset about are the ones that are like really, really close to my heart.
Well, that's why I said Goonies, because I adore The Goonies.
That'll be the case for a lot of people, won't it? It's one that they've grown up with and have a lot of warm feelings about. I never saw The Goonies until a couple of years ago, did I?
And you just think it's a lot of shouting, so...
Well, it is. It is. I liked it a lot, and I think that suits, but it is. I can barely understand what the kids are saying for half of it. They're just screaming over the top of each other.
Sean Astin is such a little cutie in that, though. Bless him. Like Good Will Hunting, The Breakfast Club.
I'd find... I could see grounds for remaking The Breakfast Club. I think that could make sense doing it with modern kids. I think it'd be difficult to do, but I think you could do that well. You could also take away some of the controversial elements of John Hughes, the director of that. I wouldn't like to see Good Will Hunting remade, though. I think part of also what is special about that film is that it was written by a young Matt Damon and Ben Affleck starting out, and that kind of adds something cozy to it somehow. And feels very personal.
I also guess, like, remaking it when Robin Williams is no longer alive.
Yeah.
But that's kind of why I was kind of disappointed that they, like, remade Jumanji.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean... And I think Good Will Hunting is probably Robin Williams' best, like, dramatic role. Like, not...
Flubber.
I can't imagine that film without him.
Yeah.
Okay.
Anyways.
That's a more cheery note to end this on than mentioning Neil Gaiman, although I've now mentioned him again. Oh, yes, we finished it?
Yes, we probably should.
Goodbye.
Bye.